Most Clash Royale players use Tornado completely wrong. They see it as a simple spell that pulls troops together, but that's only a fraction of what it can actually do. In the right hands, Tornado can activate your King Tower, dismantle entire pushes, create game-winning combinations, and generate incredible value for just 3 Elixir. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how Tornado works, the best ways to use it, and the advanced tricks that can instantly improve your gameplay. Bandit King activation requires a quick timing, but they're incredibly consistent once you learn them. Place your Ice Spirit 6 tiles from the river and 1 tile from the Princess Tower. As the bandit reaches the first tile of your side, drop the Ice Spirit and immediately tornado her towards the King Tower. If done correctly, the bandit will completely bypass the Princess Tower and give your King Tower 3 hits for a clean activation. Don't have an Ice Spirit in hand? You can still activate your King Tower against Bandit, but it will cost you some damage. Let the bandit travel to the second tile from the river. Then as she begins her dash, place the tornado to pull her onto the King Tower. You take the dash hit on your Princess Tower, but in return, the bandit gives your King Tower 3 hits and a valuable activation. Here's a lesser known King activation against split Barbarians. When your opponent splits them 3-2, focus on the side with 2 Barbarians. Position your tornado low towards the King Tower and let the first Barbarian be dealt with by the Princess Tower. As the second Barbarian steps into range and takes a swing, pull him towards the King Tower. He'll land the remaining hits needed for the activation, but be warned, this comes at a hefty cost around 1,344 hit points, making it more of a neat trick than a practical defense. Evolution Barbarians make this activation a little easier thanks to their extra health. Use the same tornado placement as the regular Barbarian interaction and allow them to approach naturally. The Princess Tower can still deal with the first Barbarian on its own. Once the second Barbarian gets a swing, pull him onto the King Tower with Tornado. He'll provide the activation, but don't celebrate too early. The final Evolution Barbarian can still do serious damage, taking it as much as 1,728 hit points from your Princess Tower if left unchecked. Berserker is one of the simpler King activations to learn. Have your tornado ready and wait for her to reach roughly the 4th tile. Once she's in position, pull her straight onto the King Tower. If timed correctly, she'll only land a single hit, making this a quick and efficient activation with very little damage taken. This variation gives you a little more room to work with. By placing the tornado slightly lower towards the King Tower, you can still secure the activation with ease. Just wait for the Berserker to reach around the 4th tile, then pull her onto the King Tower. It's a flexible setup that can be useful when your tornado placement isn't perfectly centered. This is one of the cleanest Boss Bandit King activations available. Hold your Ice Spirit 6 tiles from the river and 1 tile from the Princess Tower. As soon as the Boss Bandit steps onto the first tile, drop the Ice Spirit and immediately tornado her onto the King Tower. The freeze prevents any damage to your Princess Tower, while the Boss Bandit provides 6 hits to fully activate your King Tower. This Brawler activation is one of the most unusual in the game. Place the Ice Spirit 3 tiles from the Princess Tower and directly beside the King Tower. As the Brawler crosses the middle of the river, drop the Ice Spirit and prepare your tornado. Once he reaches the first tile, pull him into the Ice Spirit. His attack won't actually hit the Ice Spirit, but the attack animation is enough to activate the King Tower. Even after being frozen, he'll still deal around 867 damage to the Princess Tower, despite being targeted by both towers. Dark Prince activations are all about speed and precision. Keep your Ice Spirit 6 tiles from the river and 1 tile from the Princess Tower. As the Dark Prince reaches the second tile, drop the Ice Spirit to interrupt his charge. During that brief stun, immediately tornado him onto the King Tower. If timed correctly, the Dark Prince will completely bypass the Princess Tower and give you a clean King activation. Hero Dark Prince can look intimidating, especially when your opponent is eager to use the Rhino ability. Place your Ice Spirit on the 5th tile to briefly stun and redirect him. This small pathing change is enough to keep the interaction under control. Even if the ability is activated, a low tornado will still pull him onto the King Tower. Once he reaches the second tile near your Princess Tower, you'll take around 890 damage overall, but in return you secure a valuable King activation. If Tornado is the only card you have available, activating your King Tower against Elite Barbarians is possible. It's really a good trade. Keep your Tornado low and wait for the Elite Barbarians to reach the second tile from your Princess Tower. Once they do, pull them towards the King Tower. Only one of them will be dragged in for the activation, while the other continues straight onto your Princess Tower. In the end, you lose the entire tower just to activate your King, which is usually far more damage than it's worth. Sometimes a King activation simply isn't worth the damage you take. If the Tornado is your only answer to an Elixir Golem, let it walk up the lane and be prepared to sacrifice a lot of tower health. The Elixir Golem will connect 4 times before splitting into Golem Mites. Just before that transition happens, quickly pull one of the Golem Mites onto your King Tower with Tornado. You'll get the activation, but it comes at the steep cost of around 2,484 hit points on your Princess Tower. Waiting until the final stage of the Elixir Golem makes this activation even more expensive. By the time the Golem Mites split into blobs, your Princess Tower has already taken a huge amount of damage. While you can still pull the blobs onto your King Tower for an activation, you'll end up losing the entire Princess Tower in the process. At that point, the activation simply isn't worth the price you've paid to get it. Electro Wizard is one of the easier King activations once you know the timing. Keep your Tornado ready and wait for him to cross the second tile from the river. At that moment, pull him onto the King Tower. Thanks to his split attack, both bolts will connect and instantly activate the King Tower. The interaction is very forgiving, and the Princess Tower only takes 462 damage in the process. Here's an alternative way to activate your King Tower against Electro Wizard. Position the Tornado in this spot and wait for him to reach the second tile from the river. Once he steps into range, pull him onto the King Tower. Just like the previous example, his split attack activates the King instantly. The difference is that this placement is slightly more efficient, reducing the damage taken on your Princess Tower to just 351 hit points. Evolved Mortar has a unique King Tower activation thanks to its spawned goblins. Keep your Tornado ready in this position. Watch for the first goblin to be launched. The moment it appears, activate the Tornado and pull it towards the King Tower. The timing is surprisingly simple once you know what to look for, and the very first goblin is enough to secure the activation. Executioner is surprisingly straightforward to activate with just Tornado. Position the Tornado exactly as shown and wait for him to reach the second tile from the river. Then pull him towards the Princess Tower. His first axe throw will miss the King Tower, but the next 2 attacks will connect and activate it. The trade-off is that you take 1,074 damage during the interaction, making it a reliable activation, but not the cheapest one available. Ice Spirit gives you a clever way to activate your King Tower against Executioner. Place the Ice Spirit 5 tiles from the Princess Tower and wait for the Executioner to approach the river. The Ice Spirit will jump in and freeze him, creating the perfect setup. As the Executioner reaches the first tile, use Tornado to pull him into position. He'll lock onto the Ice Spirit and the axe throw will activate the King Tower. The activation is very efficient too, costing just 358 damage onto your Princess Tower. Much like Executioner, Firecracker can activate your King Tower without any additional cards on the field. Keep your Tornado ready in this position and wait for her to cross the middle of the river. As soon as she steps into range, pull her towards the center of the Tornado. Thanks to the Firecracker's long-range projectile, her very first shot will connect with the King Tower and activate it immediately. Fisherman has a unique King Tower activation thanks to his hook mechanic. Keep your Tornado ready in this position and watch carefully as he locks on to the Princess Tower. The moment his hook is about to connect, pull him towards the King Tower with Tornado. The activation happens instantly, bringing your King Tower online, although you'd still take 194 damage on the Princess Tower in the process. You can even activate your King Tower against Giant Skeleton using nothing more than an Ice Spirit and a Tornado. Position the Ice Spirit 6 tiles from the river and 1 tile from the Princess Tower. As the Giant Skeleton reaches the 4th tile, drop the Ice Spirit to force a retarget. The freeze creates a tiny timing window, so you need to react quickly. As soon as he's frozen, pull him onto the King Tower with Tornado. The Giant Skeleton will connect 6 times before going down, and his Death Bomb will follow up afterwards. It's a costly activation, but getting your King Tower online can be well worth it. A standard Goblin Barrel is one of the easiest King Tower activations in the game. Keep your tornado ready in this position and watch the barrel's shadow as it travels across the arena. As soon as the shadow reaches the 4th tile from the river, activate the tornado. 2 of the goblins will be pulled completely onto the King Tower, while the 3rd manages to stay behind and get a stab in. You take 240 damage, but in exchange you activate your King Tower for the rest of the match. Even if your opponent places the Goblin Barrel off to the corner, the King activation still works. Use the exact same timing as before and position your tornado here. As the barrel lands, the goblins will be dragged towards the King Tower, activating it just like a standard barrel. The downside is that one goblin still manages to get through and deal significant damage, bringing your Princess Tower down by 480 hit points. The King activation works from this barrel placement as well. Just like the previous example, watch for the shadow to reach the 4th tile from the river and use the same tornado timing. Even though the goblins land on the opposite side of the Princess Tower, the pool still drags enough of them onto the King Tower to secure the activation. One goblin will avoid the pool and get a few stabs in, resulting in 360 damage to the Princess Tower, but the activation is still well worth it. Goblin Brawler is one of the easier King activations to learn. Keep your tornado ready in this position and watch him as he advances down the lane. As soon as he reaches the 4th tile from the river, activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. The timing is straightforward, making this a reliable activation that you can consistently pull off in a real match. Here's an alternative tornado placement for the Goblin Brawler activation. Instead of placing the tornado in the previous spot, you can position it 1 tile lower and still get the same result. As the Goblin Brawler reaches the 4th tile from the river, activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. The timing remains exactly the same, giving you another reliable way to secure the activation. Here's another variation of the Goblin Brawler activation. This time the tornado placement is shifted 1 tile to the left of the Princess Tower. Other than that, the interaction remains exactly the same. Wait for the Goblin Brawler to reach the 4th tile from the river, then activate the tornado and pull him into the King Tower. It's another simple and reliable setup that gives you an easy King activation. Goblin Demolisher requires a slightly different activation because you're not using the troop itself to activate the King Tower, you're using its death explosion. Keep your tornado ready in this position and allow the Demolisher to connect with the Princess Tower, who will deal 558 damage before entering his charging phase. The moment he transforms, activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. When he explodes, the death damage will activate the King Tower for you. Evolved Goblin Drill has a very straightforward King Tower activation once you know what to look for. Keep your tornado ready in this position and be patient. If the drill is placed directly in front of the Princess Tower, activate the tornado as soon as the first goblin emerges and pull it onto the King Tower. The activation itself is simple, but don't get distracted by it. The remaining goblins are still a major threat and will deal a total of 1106 damage if left unchecked. This activation works even if the evolved Goblin Drill is placed on the far left side of the Princess Tower. The timing stays exactly the same. Wait for the first goblin to appear, then use Tornado to pull it onto the King Tower. While the activation itself is reliable, the placement allows the remaining goblins to cause even more damage. By the time the defense is over, your Princess Tower will have lost 1466 hit points. This time, the tornado placement is adjusted slightly, sitting 2 tiles lower and 1 tile further to the left of the Princess Tower. This activation is specifically for when the evolved Goblin Drill is placed at the top of the tower. Even with this different setup, the activation still works. As soon as the first goblin emerges from the drill, pull it onto the King Tower to secure the activation. Just remember that while you're activating the King, remaining goblins are still free to cause damage, taking a total of 1346 hit points from your Princess Tower. Using the same tornado placement from the previous example, you can also activate your King Tower when the evolved Goblin Drill is placed to the left of the Princess Tower. The activation timing remains the same. Pull the first goblin onto the King Tower as soon as it emerges from the drill. While the activation is still reliable, the remaining goblins are able to get plenty of value, dealing a total of 1346 damage to the Princess Tower before they are cleaned up. Against a regular goblin drill, keep your tornado ready in this position and watch for the first goblin to appear. Even if the drill is placed at the top of the Princess Tower, the activation still works. The moment the first goblin spawns, immediately pull it onto the King Tower with tornado. It's a very consistent activation, but don't forget about the remaining goblins, as they will still deal a total of 866 damage to your Princess Tower before being dealt with. The same tornado placement and timing work here as well. Even when the goblin drill is placed to the left of the Princess Tower, you can still secure the King Tower activation by pulling the first goblin as soon as it emerges. The activation remains simple and reliable, but the trade-off is the extra damage from the remaining goblins. By the end of the interaction, your Princess Tower will have taken 986 damage. This time, the tornado placement is adjusted slightly, setting 2 tiles lower and 1 tile to the left. Even with this different setup, the activation still works when the goblin drill is placed at the top of the Princess Tower. The key is making sure both of your placements and timing are precise. Pull the first goblin onto the King Tower as soon as it emerges from the drill, and you secure the activation. Just be aware that the remaining goblins will still get plenty of value, dealing a total of 866 damage to your Princess Tower. Using the same tornado placement and timing from the previous example, you can also activate your King Tower when the goblin drill is placed to the left of the Princess Tower. The interaction works exactly the same. Pull the first goblin onto the King Tower as soon as it emerges from the drill. The activation is still reliable, but the remaining goblins will continue to chip away at your tower, resulting in a total of 866 damage to the Princess Tower. Goblin Machine has a very straightforward King Tower activation once you know the timing. Keep your tornado ready in this position and wait for it to reach the 5th tile from the river. At that moment, pull it onto the King Tower with tornado. The activation itself is simple and reliable, but it comes at a hefty cost. While you successfully activate the King Tower, the Princess Tower will take a massive 1212 damage in the process. Activating your King Tower against Golem Mites is all about precise timing. Keep your tornado ready in this position and wait for the golem to split. As the Golem Mites emerge, make sure one of them moves closer enough to the Princess Tower to create the correct angle. At that moment, pull it onto the King Tower with tornado to secure the activation. In this example, the minion horde helps clean everything up afterwards, limiting the damage to just 591 on the Princess Tower. Graveyard has a surprisingly simple King Tower activation once you know the timing. Keep your tornado ready in this position and allow a few skeletons to spawn first. After roughly 3 seconds, activate the tornado and pull the skeletons towards the King Tower. It only takes 1 skeleton connecting with the King Tower to secure the activation. However, this is a risky defense if tornado is your only answer, as the remaining skeletons can quickly overwhelm your Princess Tower, especially if there's a tank soaking up damage in front of the graveyard. The standard Hog Rider King Tower activation is one of the most important tornado interactions to learn. Keep your tornado ready in this position and be patient. As the Hog Rider approaches, wait until he reaches the 3rd tile from the river before activating the tornado. If timed correctly, the Hog Rider will be pulled straight onto the King Tower, giving you a clean and reliable activation. Here's a useful variation of the standard Hog Rider activation. This time, place the tornado 1 tile lower than usual and watch the Hog Rider's position carefully. Instead of pulling on the 3rd tile, wait until he reaches the 4th tile from the river before activating the tornado. The adjusted placement changes the timing slightly, but the result is the same. A clean and easy King Tower activation. This interaction gives you even more flexibility with your tornado placement. Here the tornado is positioned another tile lower, yet the activation still works perfectly. As the Hog Rider approaches, wait until he reaches the 3rd tile from the river before activating the tornado. With the correct timing, he'll be pulled straight onto the King Tower, giving you another clean King Tower activation. Here's another tornado placement that works against Hog Rider. This time the tornado is positioned 1 tile further to the left than the previous example. Be patient with the timing and wait for the Hog Rider to reach the 3rd tile from the river. Once he gets there, activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. Even with this adjusted placement, the interaction remains consistent and gives you a clean King Tower activation. This is about as low as you can place the tornado and still get a King Tower activation on the Hog Rider. Even with this placement, the interaction remains reliable as long as your timing is correct. Wait for the Hog Rider to reach the 4th tile from the river, then activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. Time it properly and you get another clean activation. Baby Dragon has a clever King Tower activation that uses Ice Spirit to create the perfect splash angle. Keep your tornado ready in this position and allow the Baby Dragon to lock onto the Princess Tower first. Once it's targeting the tower, pull it with tornado and immediately place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 5 tiles away from the left Princess Tower. The Baby Dragon's splash attack will hit the Ice Spirit and continue through to the King Tower, securing the activation. Even better, the Princess Tower only takes 322 damage during the interaction. The Battle Healer has a surprisingly clean King Tower activation when paired with Ice Spirit and Tornado. Place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 6 tiles from the river and 1 tile away from the Princess Tower. As the Battle Healer reaches the 4th tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit to freeze her in place. Once she starts moving forward again, quickly position the Tornado in this spot and pull her onto the King Tower. Time it correctly and you secure a smooth King Tower activation. Evolved Bomber has a very unique King Tower activation that relies on the bounce from his bomb. As the Evolved Bomber reaches the middle of the river, place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 4 tiles away from the Princess Tower. Then keep your tornado ready in this position and wait for the interaction to develop. The Ice Spirit will create the perfect target for the bomb, allowing the Evolved Bomb Tower's attack to bounce through and activate the King Tower. Against Golem Knight, you will need both Ice Spirit and Tornado to secure the King Tower activation. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower. Wait until the Golem Knight reaches the 4th tile from the river before releasing the Ice Spirit. The freeze will briefly stun him and alter his pathing. As soon as that happens, activate the Tornado in this position and pull him onto the King Tower for a clean activation. If your opponent activates Golem Knight's dash ability, the interaction changes slightly. Instead of the previous setup, place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 4 tiles from the river and 6 tiles from the lane. The Golem Knight will dash directly onto the Ice Spirit, immediately freezing himself in the process. Once he's frozen, use the Tornado in this position to pull him onto the King Tower and secure the activation. Knight also has a clean King Tower activation using Ice Spirit and Tornado. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower. As the Knight reaches the 4th tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit. The freeze will briefly stop him and slightly alter his pathing at the same time. Once that happens, quickly activate the Tornado in this position and pull the Knight onto the King Tower for an easy activation. Against Little Prince, the key is activating the King Tower using the Guardian. Allow the Guardian to reach the 4th tile from the river. Then place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 7 tiles from the river and 2 tiles from the Princess Tower. The freeze will briefly stall the Guardian and help set up the interaction. From there, use this Tornado placement to pull the Guardian onto the King Tower and secure the activation. Just be careful, if the Little Prince is left unattended, he will continue firing from range and deal a massive 2,184 damage to your Princess Tower. Mighty Miner uses the same Ice Spirit setup as several of the other Grand Troop activations. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower. As the Mighty Miner reaches the 4th tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit to freeze him and slightly alter his pathing. The moment his movement shifts, activate the Tornado in this position and pull him onto the King Tower for a clean activation. Monk can be activated using the same Ice Spirit setup as the previous Grand Troop interactions. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower. Then have it ready as the Monk approaches. Once he reaches the 4th tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit to freeze him and slightly alter his pathing. As soon as his movement shifts, use the Tornado in this position to pull him onto the King Tower and secure the activation. Mother Witch has one of the most creative King Tower activations in the game. Place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 5 tiles from the river and 4 tiles from the lane. As the Mother Witch crosses the river, she'll curse the Ice Spirit and transform it into a cursed hog. The moment the hog appears, immediately use this tornado placement to put it onto the King Tower for the activation. Just be aware that while you're setting up the interaction, the Mother Witch will still connect with the Princess Tower and deal 266 damage. Against Night Witch, allow her to cross the river before placing the Ice Spirit on the 4th tile from the lane. The Ice Spirit will freeze her and slightly alter her pathing, setting up the activation. From there, use this tornado placement and wait until the Night Witch reaches the 5th tile from the river before pulling her towards the King Tower. The Night Witch herself won't activate the King. Instead, the final surviving bat will connect and secure the activation. You'll take a small amount of damage in the process, but with the Princess Tower losing 162 hit points. Against Rascals, the King Tower activation revolves around the Rascal Boy. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower. As the Rascal Boy reaches the 4th tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit to freeze him and slightly alter his pathing. Then immediately use this tornado placement to pull him onto the King Tower for the activation. Just be aware that while you're focusing on the Rascal Boy, the Rascal Girls are free to fire away, dealing a massive 2,500 damage to the Princess Tower if left unchecked. Skeleton King can be activated using the same Ice Spirit setup as many of the other ground champions. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and 2 tiles from the Princess Tower. As the Skeleton King reaches the 4th tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit to freeze him and slightly alter his pathing. Once his movement shifts, use this tornado placement to pull him onto the King Tower and secure a clean activation. Lumberjack has a very straightforward King Tower activation with Tornado alone. Keep your Tornado ready in this position and watch his approach carefully. As soon as the Lumberjack reaches the 4th tile from the river, activate the Tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. Time it correctly and you'll get a clean and reliable activation without needing any additional cards. Here's an alternative tornado placement against the Lumberjack. This time position the tornado 1 tile lower and 1 tile further to the left than the previous example. Despite the different placement, the timing remains exactly the same. Wait until the Lumberjack reaches the 4th tile from the river, then activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower for another clean activation. Magic Archer doesn't even need a building to activate the King Tower. Place the Ice Spirit on this tile, 7 tiles from the river and 2 tiles from the Princess Tower. As soon as the Magic Archer crosses the middle of the river, release the Ice Spirit and immediately use this tornado placement to pull him into position. The Ice Spirit creates the perfect alignment for the Magic Archer's piercing arrows to connect with the King Tower, securing the activation. Just be aware that after the activation, the Magic Archer will still deal 286 damage to the Princess Tower. Mega Knight requires a slightly different setup to activate the King Tower. Place the Ice Spirit on the 5th tile from the river and the 5th tile from the lane. Then wait for the Mega Knight to reach the 2nd tile from the river. Once he's in position, release the Ice Spirit. The Mega Knight will jump onto it, freezing himself in the process and setting up the perfect angle. From there, use this tornado placement to pull him onto the King Tower and secure the activation. This time, moving the miner just 1 tile lower completely changes the interaction. Unlike the previous example, the tornado is now able to pull him far enough to reach the King Tower and secure the activation. It's a tiny difference in placement, but it has a huge impact on the outcome. With the tornado activated, the miner only manages to deal 49 damage to the Princess Tower before being taken out. Here's an alternative tornado placement that's positioned slightly lower than the previous example. Even with the adjusted placement, the miner can still be pulled cleanly onto the King Tower activation. The timing remains straightforward and the result is just as effective. With the King Tower helping out, the miner only manages to deal 49 damage to the Princess Tower before being taken down. This tornado placement is designed to activate a miner that's positioned at the front of the Princess Tower. As soon as the miner appears, pull him into the King Tower using this placement and he'll be dragged straight into the activation range. It's a simple and reliable interaction that gives you a valuable King Tower support while limiting the miner to just 49 damage on the Princess Tower. Mini Pekka has a very straightforward King Tower activation with Tornado. Keep your Tornado ready in this position and watch its approach carefully. As soon as the Mini Pekka reaches the 4th tile from the river, activate the Tornado and pull it onto the King Tower. The timing is simple, making this one of the easier and more reliable King Tower activations to perform. Here's an alternative tornado placement for Mini Pekka. This time, position the tornado 1 tile lower and 1 tile further to the left than the previous example. Even with the adjusted placement, the timing remains exactly the same. Wait until the Mini Pekka reaches the 4th tile from the river, then activate the tornado and pull it onto the King Tower for another clean activation. Phoenix has a unique King Tower activation thanks to its death explosion. Keep your tornado ready in this position and allow the Phoenix to get a single hit first. Once it connects, activate the tornado and pull it onto the King Tower. When the Phoenix goes down, its death damage will splash onto the King Tower and secure an activation. It's a clever interaction, but it comes at a cost as the Princess Tower ends up taking 597 damage in the process. If you don't have a building available, Ice Spirit can help set up the activation instead. Place the Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 3rd tile from the lane. As soon as the prince reaches the 2nd tile from the river, release the Ice Spirit. The freeze will slightly alter his pathing and create the perfect setup for this tornado placement. Pull him onto the King Tower and secure the activation. You still take 391 damage on the Princess Tower, but in return you unlock valuable King Tower support for the rest of the match. Split evolved recruits have a surprisingly tricky King Tower activation. Keep your tornado ready on the side of the 4 recruits and let the Princess Tower lock onto the 1st recruit. Then watch the 2nd recruit carefully. As soon as he reaches the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower, activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. The activation works, but it comes at a huge cost. While you gain King Tower support, the left Princess Tower takes a massive 2,660 damage, while the right Princess Tower suffers another 1,064 damage. The same strategy works against regular recruits as well. Keep your tornado ready in the same position and allow the Princess Tower to focus down the 1st recruit. Then watch the 2nd recruit closely. As soon as he reaches the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower, activate the tornado, pull him onto the King Tower for the activation. Just like the evolved version, the activation comes at a hefty price. The left Princess Tower takes 2,394 damage, while the right Princess Tower suffers another 1,064 damage in the process. Royal Ghost has one of the simplest King Tower activations in the game. Keep your tornado ready in this position and watch his approach carefully. As soon as the Royal Ghost reaches the 4th tile from the river, activate the tornado and pull him onto the King Tower. The timing is straightforward, making this a clean and reliable activation whenever you have a tornado in hand. Royal Hogs have a King Tower activation, but it's far from a perfect defense. Keep your tornado ready in this position and allow the Hogs to get close before activating it. When you pull them in, only one of the Royal Hogs will be dragged onto the King Tower and secure the activation. The problem is that the other 3 are free to continue attacking. As a result, the Princess Tower still takes a hefty 1,406 damage, despite gaining the King Tower activation. Using the same exact tornado placement as before, a small timing adjustment can make a huge difference. Instead of pulling immediately, wait a little longer and allow the Royal Hogs to move further forward. With the delayed tornado, you'll be able to pull 2 Royal Hogs onto the King Tower instead of just 1. The activation is still secured, but this time the Princess Tower takes only 1,036 damage, making it a much more efficient defense. You can optimize this interaction even further by adjusting the tornado placement. Move the tornado 2 tiles higher than the previous example and keep the same delayed timing. Just like before, you'll be able to pull 2 Royal Hogs onto the King Tower for the activation. The improved positioning drags them further away from the Princess Tower, reducing the damage even more. This time, the Princess Tower takes just 888 damage while still securing the King Tower activation. This is where the interaction starts to get really efficient. Using this tornado placement, wait until the row hogs are right on the edge of the tornado's pull radius before activating it. If timed correctly, 3 of the row hogs will be dragged onto the king tower instead of just 1 or 2. That extra pull dramatically reduces the pressure on the princess tower while still securing the activation. As a result, you only take 592 damage, making this one of the strongest ways to defend the row hogs with tornado. This tornado placement is especially effective against split row hogs. Keep the tornado ready in this position and wait until the hogs are right on the edge of the pull radius before activating it. If timed correctly, you drag both hogs from the left lane and 1 hog from the right lane onto the king tower. The activation is secured and most of the pressure is removed before it reaches your towers. As a result, the left princess tower takes just 74 damage, while the right princess tower takes 518 damage. The same tornado placement works brilliantly against a 3-1 row hog split. The key is all in the timing. Don't rush the tornado. Wait until the 3 hogs are close enough to the edge of the pull radius before activating it. If timed correctly, all 3 hogs from one lane will be dragged onto the king tower, while the long hog on the opposite lane continues through. The result is a very efficient activation, with the left princess tower taking 444 damage and the right princess tower taking just 222 damage. Skeleton Barrel has a very easy king tower activation with tornado. Keep your tornado hovered high up in this position and watch the barrels approach carefully. As soon as the skeleton barrel reaches the 5th tile from the river, activate the tornado and pull it onto the king tower. The barrel will be dragged perfectly into range, allowing you to secure a clean and reliable king tower activation. You don't have to use the exact tornado placement to make this activation work. In fact, you can place the tornado 1 tile lower and still activate the king tower reliably. The important part is the timing. Wait until the skeleton barrel reaches the 5th tile from the river, then activate the tornado and pull it in. Get the timing right and the king tower activation will work just as cleanly as before. You can actually move the tornado even lower and get the activation. The placement becomes more forgiving than you might think. But there's one thing that cannot change: the timing. As long as the skeleton barrel is on the 5th tile from the river when you activate the tornado, it will be pulled perfectly onto the king tower. Stay consistent with the timing and you'll be able to secure the activation effortlessly every time. Against suspicious bush, keep your tornado positioned low in this spot and be ready for the surprise attack. Don't activate it immediately. Instead, wait for the bush to burst open and reveal the goblins inside. As soon as they pop out, pull one of the goblins onto the king tower using the tornado. The activation is simple and reliable, but it isn't free. You secure the king tower activation at the cost of 512 damage on your princess tower. Goblin Gang has a surprisingly effective king tower activation with tornado. Keep your tornado ready in this position and be patient. As soon as the first goblin reaches the 3rd tile from the river, activate the tornado and pull the gang inward. One of the goblins will be dragged onto the king tower, securing the activation, giving you that valuable extra defensive support. It works reliably, but it isn't free. The princess tower will still take 891 damage before the gang is fully cleaned up. Regular goblins use the exact same tornado placement as the Goblin Gang activation. Let the first goblin go down, leaving 3 remaining. Then watch the second goblin carefully. As soon as he reaches the 2nd tile from the princess tower, activate the tornado. One of the goblins will be pulled onto the king tower for the activation while the others are cleaned up. It's a much cheaper activation than Goblin Gang, with the princess tower taking only 240 damage. Guards can also be used for a king tower activation with the same tornado placement. Allow the first guard to lose its shield and go down, leaving the 2 remaining guards approaching your tower. Then be patient and watch their positioning. Once the 2 guards reach the 2nd tile from the princess tower, activate the tornado and pull them inward. 1 guard will be dragged onto the king tower for the activation, while the other remains out of range. As a result, the princess tower still takes 468 damage before the defense is complete. Even minions can be turned into a King Tower activation. Keep your tornado ready in this position and let the interaction play out. The first minion will be taken down, and the Princess Tower will begin targeting the next minion in the corner. As soon as the remaining minions reach the third tile from the Princess Tower, activate the tornado. One of the minions will be pulled onto the King Tower, securing the activation while the others are cleaned up by your towers. Evolved Valkyrie has a surprisingly easy King Tower activation with the right setup. Keep your tornado ready in this position. Allow her to walk 2 tiles from the river, then activate the tornado while simultaneously placing an ice wizard on this tile. The third tile from the King Tower right in the middle. The ice wizard becomes the perfect target for the Valkyrie's spinning axe, causing it to travel all the way across and activate the King Tower from a distance. It's a very efficient interaction, with the Princess Tower taking only 50 damage in the process. Evolved Valkyrie can even activate the King Tower without any support troops. Simply keep your tornado ready in this position and wait for her to reach the third tile from the Princess Tower. Once she's in range, activate the tornado and pull her inward. The Evolved Valkyrie's massive tornado radius will reach all the way to the King Tower and secure the activation. It's a simple interaction, but it comes at a cost, with the Princess Tower taking 873 damage in the process. Regular Valkyrie requires a little setup, but the activation is incredibly reliable once you know the timing. Place an Ice Spirit on the 7th tile from the river and the 2nd tile from the Princess Tower. Then wait for the Valkyrie to reach the 4th tile from the river. At that moment, release the Ice Spirit. The freeze will briefly stop the Valkyrie and alter her path just enough to create the perfect angle. Immediately follow up with this tornado placement and pull her onto the King Tower for a flawless activation. You can even activate the King Tower with a Valkyrie using nothing but tornado. Keep your tornado ready in this position and patiently wait for the Valkyrie to arrive at your Princess Tower. Allow her to get her first hit, then activate the tornado and pull her inward. She'll manage to swing a second time, but that's where the setup pays off. Her third swing reaches far enough with the axe radius to activate the King Tower. It's a clever interaction, but it's definitely not cheap, as the Princess Tower takes a hefty 1064 damage before the activation is secured. Evolved Wall Breakers have a neat King Tower activation with Tornado. Keep your Tornado ready in this position and watch their approach carefully. As soon as the Wall Breakers reach the 4th tile from the river, activate the Tornado. One of the Wall Breakers will be pulled onto the King Tower, where its death damage will secure the activation. The other Wall Breaker won't be pulled, allowing it to connect with the Princess Tower for 350 damage before going down. Sometimes your opponent would deploy the evolved wall breakers in a way that causes them to travel in a straight line, rather than side by side. When that happens, keep your tornado ready in this position and watch the lead wall breaker carefully. As soon as the first wall breaker reaches the 3rd tile from the river, activate the tornado. The lead wall breaker will be pulled onto the King Tower and its death bomb will secure the activation. The 2nd wall breaker won't be caught by the pull and will continue onto the Princess Tower, dealing 350 damage before exploding. You can also use an alternative tornado placement by positioning it 1 tile lower and 1 tile further to the left. The setup is slightly different, but the result is exactly the same. Wait until the evolved wall breakers reach the 4th tile from the river, then activate the tornado. 1 wall breaker will be pulled onto the King Tower, where its death bomb secures the activation. The other slips through, connecting the Princess Tower, dealing 350 damage before exploding. Even when the evolved wall breakers are traveling in a single file line, this lower tornado placement works perfectly. Keep the tornado ready in this position and watch the lead wall breaker closely. Just as the first wall breaker is about to reach the 4th tile from the river, activate the tornado. The lead wall breaker will be pulled onto the King Tower, where its death bomb secures the activation. As usual, the 2nd wall breaker slips through and connects with the Princess Tower, dealing 350 damage before exploding. Against regular wall breakers, this tornado activation is incredibly rewarding. Keep your tornado ready in this position and let the wall breakers approach. As soon as they reach the third tile from the river, activate the tornado and pull them inward. The timing is very forgiving, and if done correctly, you will secure a perfect King Tower activation. Best of all, unlike many other activations, the Princess Tower takes no additional damage in the process. Even if the wall breakers are traveling one behind the other, don't panic. The exact same tornado placement still works. Keep the tornado ready in this position and wait for the first wall breaker to reach the third tile from the river. Then activate the tornado and pull them inward. The first wall breaker will be taken out, while the second survives just long enough to reach the King Tower and secure the activation. Best of all, the entire interaction is cleaned up without the Princess Tower taking any damage whatsoever. And that's every tornado King Tower activation in Clash Royale. Learn these interactions once and they'll save you thousands of tower hit points across hundreds of matches. If you found this guide helpful, subscribe for more Clash Royale guides. Good luck!